I'm Ken Rockwell. Here's a user's guide for Nikon's fully professional FM mechanical manual 35mm camera. First, to get the batteries loaded, use a quarter or 100 yen piece, I think it officially is. Pop it in here, 2 S76 cells. And the links to where you can get these special cells are all in my written review at kenrockwell.com. You could also get motor drives, which are coupled to this, but we're not going to cover that today. Once the batteries are loaded, you need to load your film. To load your film, unlatch it, pull this straight up, drop your film in here. The long part of the spool goes down here. Draw it across, poke the leader into this slot, advance it a little bit. I never actually did what you're supposed to do, which is to advance it 1 or 2 frames to make sure it's advancing properly. I simply did this. If it looked okay, I close that. Here's a pro trick. Always need to make sure that this thing rotates as you're advancing your film. If you advance your film and the rewind crank doesn't move, that means the film's not advancing. You always want to make sure, I'm going to cheat here, that as you turn this, this turns. That means your film's advancing. And if you're getting that, you know the film was advanced properly and it's all loaded properly. You can do multiple exposures. To do multiple exposure, that's one exposure. Pull this towards the prism, then do that. That is if you're doing a multiple exposure, don't want the film to advance, and if the film advances, there's more going on. To set your exposure, you set the ISO, or actually ASA as we old timers say. You lift this up, you rotate this around till you get the proper ISO or ASA, and then you look through the finder. There are 3 LEDs, one for too much exposure, one for right on, one for too little exposure. You adjust this and the aperture until you get the 0 indication on the exposure LED, then you're good to go. To focus, it's so simple. You just turn this ring, and you see if you have a real AIS lens, you just need 1 finger to focus this. That's the way a real lens works. Not like these crappy lenses that require you to use 2. No, everything is so smooth. Just 1 finger, just look through the finder. If it's sharp, it's good to go. For depth of field preview, there's a dedicated button, which is this dude right here. Push that towards the camera body, and you will see your aperture stop down. To use the self-timer, it is just so simple. For instance, if you're making a 1/4 second exposure on a tripod, you don't need no stinking cable release, which would go right in here. Advance your film, press that down, boom. It doesn't get any better or simpler than this. And also, unlike every other camera, you see it's already locked up the mirror for you. You don't even need to think about that. How cool is that? All these digital cameras, you got 1,000,001 things to do. Oh, to change your lens, it's simple. You push this lens release button in, and you can do that. You see that's a locking pin there. To line up your lens, you match your index there with the index here, and you're good to go. If you have a non-AI lens, this camera came out in 1977, brand new with the AI system. You press this, move this little coupler out of the way, you can now mount non-AI lenses and use stop-down metering, which means you press, quite simply, you press the stop-down button, and then you adjust the aperture and the shutter speed till you get 0 in the finder, then you're good to shoot. It's a little bit more of a pain, but it's still a lot easier than any other camera today. And you see this couples like that. This is something the FTZ can't do on those crappy mirrorless cameras, which is simply, as you adjust this aperture, you're coupling it into the meter system. And guess what? You always focus at full aperture. You're focusing at full aperture. And when you take the picture for an instant, it stops down automatically for you the instant you take the picture. Flash, it has a hot shoe, so you're all good to go. You can use the PC Sync Terminal, which stands for Prontor Compure Synchronization. You can put your film there so you don't forget what kind of film you've got. When you're done shooting your roll and you're at the end here, oh, while we're here, this is a lock. If you put that to the red position, you can't press this down. I'm not really sure what good that is, but, it's something. Anyway, when your last shot is shot, you push in the release button here, the rewind button, as we say, and you see this little arrow with a little direction there so you don't get it wrong. You rewind it back into the canister. And when it's actually done, you'll feel that this will turn more easily, and you'll also hear the film go click, 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 click every time the leader is at the end there. When you're done, and only after it's rewound, do not do this before it's rewound, because then you lose your roll of film. Open her up, and there you go. And that's just a little bit about the use of the Nikon FM 35mm professional camera. Thanks for watching Ken Rockwell. And again, full review and everything you'd ever need to know about this camera is up at kenrockwell.com. Thanks for watching.